In this video, we're going to look at a data type in Python called dictionaries. Similar to a list, but with dictionaries, instead of being ordered, it's non-ordered, and we go about getting everything by a key that we would make ourselves. We enter things in pairs called a key value pair. And we're going to make a dictionary here. So this dictionary that we're going to create, we're going to add a few US states to it, and we're going to call it states. And we're going to start with a US state. I'm going to start with Michigan, and it's going to be my first pairing of a key value pair. So the first key value pair that's going to get entered here is here's the key, is the first one. MI, state abbreviation code for the U.S. state of Michigan, and then the value this getting paired with this particular key is Michigan spelled out. So we're going to want to enter at least a couple more states here. So put a comma, and we're ready for our next key value pair, which is basically a key and then a value. So we're going to add another state here. We're going to put Florida, FL, and we have Florida. So we can put another comma, and you could basically continue with a lot of states or whatever you happen to be entering. Colon there, and this kind of designates that you have a key and then a colon and then your value for each of these key value pairs that we're gonna enter. And let's go for Ohio. That's a quick one to enter. Okay, so what we did above here is we defined a dictionary, a very small dictionary, but a dictionary nonetheless. And we have three actual key value pairs in it. We have MI in Michigan, FL in Florida, and OH in Ohio. So what we're going to do now is we're going to print it out just to kind of take a look at what we entered here. Let's run this, and we see it printed that we have our dictionary with the with the three key value pairs that we entered. Okay. So now let's look at a couple ways to pull values from a dictionary. One way is we could say state equals states. Oops, we pull value from here, and I better spell that correctly. Okay. And then I just put in a key, like Michigan, for example. I'm going to pull Michigan here. And let's put that in there. We're going to print state. So what we're saying here is we want to grab whatever's in the state's dictionary associated with the key of MI. So we're grabbing the value associated with the key of MI, and we're putting it in a variable state, and then we're going to print it. So let's run this. Oh, good. Okay. We were able to retrieve exactly what we wanted. Now I'm going to show you another way to do this. And once we get, and this is actually my preferred way, and once we get down here a little ways, you're going to be able to see why. We're going to go into that in a bit, but for now, let's just see another kind of cool way to do it with this method called get. And we're going to try the exact same thing. And you notice it's a little longer and more you have to type to get, but later we're going to go on in this and we're going to talk about what happens when you try to pull something that's not there, and how each of these various ways of grabbing information from a dictionary works when you encounter a key that's not there. Let's say I don't see California in here, so if we were to look for California, it won't be in there. So let's run this. Okay. So basically this yielded the same results. A little longer. Like I said, a little later on we're gonna go over the what happens when we try to enter one that's not there. But for now, we're gonna see how to add different states. So, or actually add any new key value paired, and in our case that's going to be a state. So we could add to it add to these dictionaries. Okay, so we're going to go states, and we're going to add, let's add Georgia. So we're going to put GA, and we're going to then give it a value. And we're going to type in Georgia. But I'm going to put a typo in here, and that is for us to check out a little after this. But for now, let's just put in Georgia with the misspelling, and then we're going to print states again to see what we have in there. Okay, let's run this. So we run it, and we can see that now we have Georgia misspelled in there, which is good. It's exactly what we wanted to do, and that's how we add to the list. We just kind of add to the dictionary. We just kind of add add it like this. We could add as many as we want. We could put it in a loop. We could grab all this in from a file and put it in a loop that adds it. It's probably the easiest and most common way of adding to the dictionary. Now let's do a little fix on Georgia, because it's in there, but it's not in there correctly. So if we wanted to fix it, do a update on there, it would basically be the same thing we just did with the addition. So we're updating states based on the key. So for the key GA, we're gonna now assign it the correct value and run it. So let's run. Okay. So you see the first time we have Georgia in there spelled incorrectly. Then we have our fix. So all we did to do that was basically the same same statement. Is we have the dictionary, we have a key, and then we have the value that we want associated with what's with that particular key. Now here's a fun one. We're going to try to find some that's not there. So we're gonna go. We're gonna call this. Let's get a new one. Let's call it state 2, and we're gonna look again in states, and we're gonna say get, and we want to find Arkansas. AR. And once we have Arkansas, we're going to print it out. Okay. So it pulls in there and says none, because Arkansas is not in there, which makes sense. Now let's try to assign it the other way. So let's go state 2 equals states, and let's say AR. Okay, so we're going to look for Arkansas again, and as you recall, there's a couple ways to get the values. We have the using the get, and just using the states given the key. So let's just copy this line down here. So let's see what we get when this happens. Oh, we get some red. So what happened here, we got an error because it is looking for it and it says it's not there. So that's one of the reasons that I personally like the get method. I can avoid that, but you don't have to use the get method, because even if you do use the get method in it, if it's not there, you get none back, and you might have to have special processing code to deal with the none, which is what I personally prefer to do it. But one way to check before you make an assignment is with the if. So let's try some. So if New York in states, we're going to go print, and we're going to say we found state. But if it isn't, let's put else. We're gonna go print and we're gonna say state not found. Okay, and in this instance, I'm just printing this, but what you could do is if you were using this code that could possibly get an error, you could first search to verify that it's there or not, And so putting the if before you use one of these assignment statements may save that error, because it's gonna look, and if it doesn't find the state, you can do something else. Instead of assigning it, you can just skip it, or you can print some state not in the dictionary, or basically whatever you want. So this is how you look around. You use in to search through the dictionary. So let's run this. We know this one gives us error, so we're going to comment those out, because we don't want to get the same red statements again. So we run it again, and it says state not found. So if we were to put another state, let's say Florida, in there and run it, in this case, it says we found the state, because Florida is in there. We have the key of FL. So what this is doing is looking through the keys and seeing, if the keys exist. Now another thing that is really useful, of course, if you have a dictionary, you're adding keys, you at some point might want to delete keys. And how you delete keys is with the pop method. So we assign it state equals, and this could be just a junk statement, because it's gonna reassign whatever we have for state. But the more important thing that's going to happen in the method is that we're going to go states dot pop, and we're going to remove Georgia. We're just going to get Georgia out of there. No more GA. Georgia is going to disappear. Okay, so this is going to remove the state of Georgia, and if we want to put it back in there, we could re-add it with it, like the statement we have up here. We could just basically, we wouldn't want the incorrect one, but we'd want to use this one and re-add Georgia later. But for now, we're going to remove Georgia, and let's print it to see that the pop statement did actually work. So we're going to print the entire dictionary and see if we can find Georgia after we try to remove it. So run it, and it worked. As we see here, that after we remove Georgia, Georgia has been correctly removed. Now, that's probably the most one of the most common methods you can use, but there's other methods. Let's look at a couple of them here. Let's look at 3 of them here, actually. So we're going to go states dot keys, and what this is going to do is it's going to print out the keys. So let's run this, and okay, I had key instead of keys. Let's run again. Okay, so this just gives us all the keys in the dictionary. So let's look at another one. And the next one we're going to peek at is items. So we're going to switch everything up here, and then we're going to run for items. Okay, And so this lists items, which is the key and value pairs. Just kind of lists everything. You get very similar from just, printing the entire dictionary. So we're going to look at one more method really quick, and this one is one that I see used more often. So we have values, and we're gonna call it the same as the method. Although we can name the values here anything we want. Just for sake of example, I'm calling values. Run it again. Okay. So this one pulls out the values, which can be useful if you're, which we'd see here in a little bit when we actually want to grab information from the dictionary. So for printing some of this out, we can go for state, and we're going to use n again, and then we're going to go states dot values, and we're going to go print state. Make sure we have the correct lowercase. That was lowercase, so we got to stick with lowercase here, and let's run this. And once again, we're using the n to kind of loop through this. Okay, we're going to run it. Okay, and see how it has all the values from there. So that might be something useful to grab the values. If you were to want to get the keys, we would do something slightly different. Just copy this code for state, and we could just actually just use the entire dictionary here. We could just go state and states, and it's just going to grab the values. We don't have to use a method or anything, or it's going to actually just grab the keys. So let's run this. And you can see that if we just don't do any method, just kind of by default, it does everything by the keys. But if we want to see the actual values within the dictionary, the values associated with those keys, we would have to use the states.values, and that's the value in the values. Lets you do that. Now, another thing that might be useful is people do enjoy lists. In general, say you want to throw your dictionary into a list. You want to convert it over because you may not like working with dictionaries. So, and you may want to just make a list out of the keys. So we could go states dot keys. So we're using the keys method, and what we're doing is we're converting it into a list, and then we're going to print the list. It's called state list. Okay. So what this is going to do, it's going to get all the keys and put them in a list that you may use in your program, because it may be easier to work with lists as opposed to dictionaries. Okay, and we print it out, And now you see your standard list. We just have a list of all those keys. Likewise, you can do the same for the values. So let's quickly do this, and we're going to use the values method again. Okay, so we're going to redefine the list and then print it. This time, instead of the keys, we're going to grab the values, and it's going to create the list based off the values. We run it, and you can see that now we have a list created off of the actual values, in this case being the full name of the states within our dictionary.